Night settled over Jerusalem like a heavy cloak, pressing against the narrow streets and shadowy courtyards. The Passover festival had filled the city with noise earlier that day, but now an eerie quiet lingered, broken only by distant shouts and hurried footsteps. Peter felt the tension thick in the air, the kind that sits in the chest and squeezes. Just hours earlier, he had sworn boldly, "Lord, I will never deny you. I'll go to prison, even to death." His voice had trembled with devotion, with fire, with certainty. Peter had meant every word, but now those words taunted him. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the moment everything changed, Peter's heart had surged with fear and confusion. Soldiers with torches burst through the olive grove like a flood of fire. Jesus, calm as ever, stepped forward to meet them. Peter remembered the fear that had twisted in his stomach when he drew the sword. He acted without thought, striking the servant of the high priest. The clash of metal, the shocked cries, the blood, and then Jesus' voice, firm yet sorrowful. "Put your sword away." When Jesus touched the servant's ear and healed him, the soldiers hesitated, but only for a heartbeat. They seized Jesus, bound him, and dragged him away. Peter stood frozen, sword trembling in his hand. Everything he thought he understood about courage cracked in that moment. For the first time, he felt utterly powerless. As the disciples scattered into the night, Peter followed the crowd from a distance. His mind was shouting, "Do something! Save him!" Yet his feet felt like they were made of stone. The bold fisherman who once walked on water now hid among the shadows. Peter slipped into the courtyard of the high priest, blending with the servants and guards warming themselves by a fire. The flames flickered against faces twisted with curiosity, anger, and mockery. Every whisper seemed dangerous. His heart pounded. He wanted to be close to Jesus, to watch, to wait, to find a moment to act, but not be seen, not yet. His courage pulsed like an injured heartbeat. Strong one moment, weak the next. Suddenly, a girl by the fire turned her gaze toward him. Her eyes narrowed. Peter felt a chill crawl down his spine. You were with him," she said, pointing. Her voice was loud enough for those nearby to hear. The guards looked up. Torches flickered. Peter felt every muscle lock with dread. He tried to speak, but his voice caught. The memory of the soldiers dragging Jesus away burned in his mind. What if they seized him too? What if he was beaten? Imprisoned? Worse? "I don't know what you're talking about," he said quickly, too quickly. The words tasted like ash, but fear swallowed his shame. He tried to slip away from the fire, retreating into a darker corner of the courtyard, but whispers followed him. His heart thudded against his ribs like a trapped bird. Moments later, another servant looked at him with suspicion. "You're one of his disciples," he said, stepping closer. "I've seen you with him." Peter's mind flooded with images: the Last Supper, the miracles, the teachings. The moment Jesus looked at him with love deeper than the sea. But then another image smothered the rest. Jesus, bound and beaten, surrounded by hostile faces. His breath caught. His survival instinct roared louder than his devotion. "I am not one of them," he insisted, voice cracking. This second denial sliced through him. He felt the sting, but the fear of being discovered, arrested, or killed pressed harder. He had followed Jesus into danger, but he had no plan, no sword, no strength left. Time dragged painfully. Every shout from inside the chamber made him jump. He could hear fragments of the trial: accusations, lies, jeers. Peter's hands trembled. Then a group of bystanders approached, drawn by curiosity. One man leaned in close, studying Peter's face as if examining a painting. "You must be one of them," the man said. "Your accent. It's Galilean, just like his followers." The words struck Peter like a blow. Fear surged so violently he could barely breathe. The world spun. He felt trapped, exposed. "I swear I don't know the man," Peter shouted, the desperation ripping through his voice. He cursed, trying to distance himself from the very one he loved most. The moment the words left his mouth, a sharp, haunting sound pierced the courtyard, the crowing of a rooster. Clear, loud, impossible to ignore. Peter's heart collapsed within him. The world grew painfully still. Jesus' prophecy flashed in his mind. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. The weight of his failure crushed him. Fear had led him like a leash, pulling him step by step away from courage, until he stood in the ruins of his own promises. Just then, Jesus was led through the courtyard. His face was bruised, blood trickling down his cheek. Yet his eyes, his eyes were full of sorrow and love as he turned and looked directly at Peter. That gaze shattered Peter completely. It wasn't anger. It wasn't disappointment. It was the heartbreaking tenderness of someone who knew this moment would come and still loved him. Peter stumbled backward, fighting tears. He fled the courtyard, running blindly through the dark streets of Jerusalem. He collapsed against a stone wall, sobs racking his body. The cold night air stung his skin, but it couldn't compare to the pain inside. He had failed the one he had vowed to defend. Yet beneath the crushing guilt, a deeper truth began to stir. Jesus knew Peter's weaknesses. He had predicted the denial not to condemn him, but to prepare him for the grace to come. As Peter wept, a seed of understanding rooted itself in his heart. Jesus' mission was not about earthly victory or swords or defiance. It was about sacrifice, redemption, restoration. Peter didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know about the cross that awaited Jesus, or the empty tomb that would break death's grip forever. But he knew this. His failure wasn't the end of his story. The one he denied would soon forgive him, restore him, and call him to lead. Peter's trembling fear would one day transform into unshakable courage, because Jesus would rise again.